Part 3. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Seong-Lang Go. Chapter 21. You have to catch that bastard. Don't worry, it's just a little bug. Jay is the weakest among us. It doesn't mean anything if he is defeated. We will catch him. In Shang Angwo's study, the yellow young man lying on the sofa laughed when he heard this. But are you so afraid of Tianjing sending people over? Even if they come and catch the criminal, we can still snatch him away of West. Don't bring the Federation's tricks to Daxia. I originally thought that what happened a few days ago was because someone in the officialdom wanted to deal with me. So I kept you as a trump card. Now it seems that Lian Zhenbangdu is dead, it seems that no one in the officialdom will do this. Shang Angwo said, so I am coming to you now to catch that bastard as quickly as possible. Because the senior officials of Daxia, especially the royal family, are not strict about the management of crimes committed by people with abilities. On the contrary, as long as if a person with abilities is found to have sufficient potential, then all crimes can be forgiven. Especially now that the international situation is grim, the pressure on the northern border is increasing, and the demand for people with abilities is also increasing. So you're worried about that person being recruited? The yellow young man known as West laughed, shrugged, and said in his half-familiar Daxia dialect, Shang, do you think that if they know the news, they will send who is coming? Is he also a capable person? There will only be one, the National Security Secret Service, Shang Angwo said with a stern face, or as it is called in your circle, it is called Daxia Lonke. With a whooshing sound, a stone hit Jay's knee, shattering his kneecap. The severe pain made Jay couldn't help but scream. Charlie, you let me down so much, you shouldn't have lied to me. Feeling that his right knee had been shattered, Jay gritted his teeth and thought, how could he know that I lied to him? The activation of my ability is very hidden. Without professional testing equipment, it is impossible to know the specific principle. Could it be that something was found on the corpse of the masked man? But he should have died of gunshot wounds in the end. Controlling the distribution of oxygen in the air, this is your ability. The next moment, what the voice said surprised Jay even more. How did he know my abilities? Am I betrayed? No, that's not right, someone with telepathy? What's going on? The voice did not give Jay any more chance to think, and continued, Charlie, your heartbeat just now was about 80 beats per minute. Next, I will start asking you questions again. If your heartbeat exceeds this number, I will throw stones at you. If you hesitate for more than 2 seconds to answer, I will throw stones at you. Do you understand? Jay was stunned and did not answer. The next moment, another stone exploded on his left leg, shattering his left knee. Ignoring Jay's screams, the voice asked slowly, do you understand? Understood, Jay replied hurriedly despite the severe pain. Your name? Jay. Age? 25. After a few questions. What are your abilities? Control the flow of oxygen within 10 meters around. Your relationship with Shang Zhenbang. Bodyguard. Who sent you? Shang Zhenhai. Shang Zhenbang's eldest brother. Li Anping frowned when he heard this answer. Shang Zhenhai is also an ability user? Where is he? In the Amist Federation, he is known as the genius of Daxia. When he was studying abroad, he was valued by the person in charge of the Star Alliance branch there. You'd better not go against the Shang family, otherwise Shang Zhenhai will definitely not be able to mobilize the power of the Star Alliance. You can stop it. It's a pity that Jay didn't know that Shang Zhenbang had been killed at this time, otherwise he would never have answered so happily even if he was threatened. Li Anping paused when he heard about the unheard-of organization Star Alliance. Judging from Jay's answer, this organization seemed to be a very powerful organization of ability users. However, in the Amistrian Federation, is it the official organization of the Western continent? He thought for a while and asked tentatively, this is Daxia, and the government will not let them do whatever they want. Haha, Jay gasped and laughed. Daxia, 10 years ago, Daxia violated the non-aggression treaty and started a war on the northern front of the mainland in an attempt to invade the ice castle. As a result, the entire Daxia Dragon Bird's high-end combat power, half of them were wiped out by the Star Alliance. 10 years later, do you think they dare to stop the Star Alliance? Daxia and Iceberg are in the south and north, and there are constant frictions on the border. Li Anping knew this. But he never knew that Daxia actually launched a war against the ice castle 10 years ago. He was sure that this news would not be found in any newspaper. Thank you for saying so much, Li Anping said silently in his heart, so he continued to test, and soon, he sent several remaining ability users to find out the situation of the Shang family one by one. Li Anping also wanted to ask more about people with abilities in the world, but it looked like this Jay was just a small person and didn't know much. According to him, the Star Alliance is the most powerful organization of ability users in the world that spans several major countries. Behind him are the ability user troops of the 6 major powers in the world. For example, the Daxia Dragon Bird of Daxia and the Imaginary Number Agency of the Amastrian Federation. He and the other 3 were Sanren, who were contacted by Shang Jinhai. They accepted the control of the Shang family on the condition that they would be promised generous positions in the Stargate after success. The last 2 questions, Jay, what level of ability user are you? What are the abilities of each of the 3 ability users? Haha, I'm at level 0 at most, the black man said with a self-deprecating smile. Among the 4, I am the weakest, so I have no freedom and am arranged to follow Shang Zhenbang all day long. The other 3, every day their abilities are superior to mine, and they are more suitable for fighting. I advise you to give up, you will not be their opponent. With a whoosh, a stone hit Jay's shoulder, causing a splash of blood. You just have to answer my questions. With a muffled voice, Jay gasped and yelled, tell these things, and I won't be able to survive even if you let me out. You must promise me that you will let me out immediately after I tell you. Okay, I promise you. When Jay heard that the other party agreed to him so easily, he became hesitant again, worried that the other party would go back on his word. Do you think you still have a choice now? When Jay heard this, there was a struggle on his face, and finally he became cruel and told everything he knew. The most powerful one is called West. He is a yellow man, but he was born in the Federation. His ability is Metal Skin, which can cover the surface of his skin with the metal he eats. Ordinary small caliber pistols are ineffective against him. There are 2 white men left, with hair dyed white and tied in many braids. His name is Ryan. He can emit ultrasonic waves, which is mainly used for reconnaissance, but can also interfere with ordinary people. There is also a blonde white man, we call him Kuai Chiang. His hair is meticulously combed all day long. He wears glasses and is about 1.7 meters tall. We don't know his abilities. We only know that he shoots with perfect accuracy. He once used a pistol to separate 2 people. Sniper targets at 100 meters. I've never seen him miss at that moment. He told Li Anping the specific values of the 3 people's abilities. Where do they live? Seeing that Jay was hesitating again, Li Anping picked up a stone and hit it, scratching the side of his face. The Rose Hotel in the heart of the city. The corners of Li Anping's mouth turned up, and he couldn't help but want to laugh. He slowly crawled behind Jay from the darkness, and slowly pressed his right hand on the other person's neck. Jay felt it. He struggled violently and shouted, "You said you were going to let me go. I told you everything. You said you would let me go." But before he could finish shouting, Li Anping's right hand squeezed gently, and the black man died, his neck crooked, and he died. You yourself know this is impossible. Immediately afterwards, a surging force came from Li Anping's right hand and entered his body. After just 5 seconds, it disappeared again. Li Anping raised his hand and clenched his fist. He felt a wave of power surging in his body, and a strong pleasure rose in his body. He had never felt that sucking human souls was so exciting. People are happy. Ha ha ha. He Kuang laughed and said, sure enough, ability users are the most delicious food. Such a low-level ability user is equivalent to eating a feast for 30 people. Hei's words brought Li Anping back from the pleasure of power. He looked at the black man at his feet who had lost all breath and asked, what is my current physical fitness? Strength 2.6, Speed 2.5, Physical Fitness 3.6. It's really a great gift for me, but the efficiency improvement is slower than before, Li Anping asked. Of course, as your physical fitness becomes stronger and stronger, more and more souls are needed to improve each attribute. The answer was not unexpected. Li Anping nodded, hey, are you sure I am level 0? Why do I think this J is very weak? People with abilities are not that difficult to deal with. If you hadn't had the ability to regenerate, you would have been beaten to death by him. He shouted, I think you are only level 0 water quality now, which is too far behind. But if you can make the remaining 3, if you have eaten all those with abilities, no one in Zhongdu City can stop you from taking revenge. What Li Anping didn't know was that he didn't know anything about ability users at all, and he also had a very one-sided understanding of the classification of ability users. It is very hasty to classify him as a level 0 water quality. In fact, Li Anping's combat performance has long surpassed that of a level 0 ability user, but he just didn't know it. Then he asked expectantly, now that you know the addresses of those 3 ability users, their appearance and their specific abilities, what are you going to do? Li Anping laughed, of course I came to kill them before they moved, and their abilities and locations were known in advance. It's not a physical enhancement ability. If they were attacked by a sneak attack, I think they would be the same as ordinary people. It's not much different. After eating what they say, I don't have any qualms about killing Shang Angguo. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 22. City Center, Lobby of Rose Hotel. This old 5-star hotel in the central city has been open for more than 60 years. Although it is no longer dazzling in the city center with many high-rise buildings. However, due to its high-quality service and user-friendly facilities, it has still received many praises and has become the first choice for many people who come to China cities for business trips, tourism, and to visit friends. In the lobby at this moment, Li Anping was half lying on the sofa with one hand on his pillow. Directly opposite him are the hotel's elevators, 6 in total on the left and right. He had been here since 8 o'clock in the morning, looking at the people coming in and out, wondering what he was thinking. With a ding, another elevator door opened and 3 men walked out. Li Anping stared at them closely, then immediately looked away. Don't stare at them. If they are ability users who have been fighting on the front line for a long time, you can easily attract their attention by doing this. You can use your peripheral vision to look at them covertly and confirm their identity. At Hei's reminder, Li Anping slowly looked at the group of 3 people coming out of the elevator with his peripheral vision. 2 white men and 1 yellow man. Among the white men, one had many braids, and another wore glasses and had blonde hair carefully combed. They must be right. Li Anping followed him calmly. West and his party walked toward the hotel door in parallel. West glanced at the Daxia people passing by, curled his lips and said, what a disgusting country. It is still a feudal monarchy so far. Hurry, how long are we going to spend here? Kuai-chiang said expressionlessly, it will take another year or 2. At that time, Shang Zhenhai will officially become the branch director, and he will find someone to replace us. It seems like there is a tale. Ryan, the white man on the side, kept his expression unchanged and said calmly, I felt it when I got off the elevator, but I hid it very well. Just pretend not to see it for now. Well, drive to a place with few people. If you can find it, just kill it, West said nonchalantly. After saying that, the three of them were walked out of the door. The hotel boy drove a car down and handed the key to Ryan. After watching the three people get into the car, Li Anping also walked out of the hotel door. With his excellent hearing, although the voices of the three people talking just now were not loud, they were all heard by his ears, allowing him to confirm the identity of the other party. How about it, Black? Generally speaking, from this observation, I can only see a rough idea their strength and speed attributes should not be as high as yours after all. They are not the physically enhanced type of mutant type, but for insurance, it's best to know after watching them exercise. Understood. Li Anping quickly walked out of the hotel, turned to an alley, then climbed up the building in a few steps, and took out a can of natural gas he had found in advance from under a wooden board on the roof. Then he jumped along the roof of the building and chased the car driven by the three people. Hey, do you want to do something? Hayes' tone was excited, and it seemed that he could still feel his drooling voice. Li Anping has long been accustomed to Hayes' excitement. Every time he kills people and sucks souls, the other party can't help but be happy. He was holding a natural gas tank in his right hand, and his eyes were fixed on the car driving through the street. Follow them as planned. They should not be able to sense my position now that the distance is more than 300 meters. Wait until they get to a less crowded place before attacking, so as not to accidentally injure them. The distance of 300 meters was Li Anping's decision after adding some distance based on Jay's description. At this distance, the opponent should not be able to sense his position and cannot attack him. But with his super eyesight and super hearing, he can easily keep up with the opponent. Three ability users, Hayes' tone became more and more excited. After more than half an hour, the vehicles on the driveway began to thin out. After a while, no vehicles or pedestrians were seen for 100 meters in front and back. Ryan, who was in the driving position, said, "I no longer feel any hostility from just now. There are no cars around, but the feeling of being watched is still there." West nodded. "Isn't it a person with the ability to fly in a car? Or some kind of special ability?" "No, I can't even do basic stealth. I can't feel the energy, but the murderous intention is so obvious. I shouldn't be a person with the ability." "That's right. Is it an illusion? But it's impossible for all three of us to have an illusion." 300 meters away, the three of them never expected that their conversation would be overheard by Li Anping's super hearing. Li Anping murmured to himself strangely, "With Sonic Man's ability, he shouldn't be able to detect me at this distance now. Why does it sound like the three of them can feel that I'm following them? Could it be that someone else is following them? They also have murderous intentions and thoughts, which are also very concerning. Don't hesitate, let's do it. The souls I've eaten in the past few days have been saved for healing. Even if you fail, you can definitely escape." Li Anping looked at the car in the distance without saying a word. "With my current physical condition, I can't throw the natural gas tank on their car more than 300 meters away, so if you want to take action, you will definitely be within the warning distance of Sonic Man." It took about 2 to 3 seconds from the time I got within his warning distance until I threw the natural gas tank on their car and the car exploded. "It should work." Then Li Anping's face became solemn, and his entire figure instantly grew in size, turning into a 2-meter-tall little giant. The next moment, Ryan's expression suddenly changed. "Something is flying over." Within a second, Ryan and Quick Gun all opened the door and jumped out of the car on the 80-yard highway. The next second, a black shadow hit the front hood of the car. West just sneered and let the flames of the explosion cover him. After the gun landed, he held his head with both hands and rolled around a few times. He immediately stabilized his body and knelt on the ground. Without hesitation, he pulled out the pistol in his arms and fired 3 shots at Li Anping, who jumped from the roof, hitting each one. The other person's eyebrows, neck, and heart position. The bullet was far more powerful than an ordinary pistol, and a cloud of blood mist exploded on Li Anping's body. But he couldn't stop Li Anping from falling towards the exploded car wreckage. Looking at the corpse falling into the flames, Ryan walked behind Kuai-chiang and said with lingering fear, "Is the opponent a terrorist organization using this method? Could it be those ancient subordinates?" Kuai-chiang frowned and looked at the burning car wreckage. "Why don't West come out yet? He is just an iron skin, not an iron man. If he stays at this temperature for a long time, he will be burned." Perhaps something was discovered. Ryan suddenly released a sound wave detection and suddenly shouted, "No, he is not dead, West, he..." Before Ryan finished speaking, West's roar suddenly came from the wreckage of the car, but if you listened carefully, you could find that the roar seemed to contain endless pain. "Quick shot, Ryan," and the two looked at each other. In the burning car, West was tightly hugged by Li Anping, and his body was covered in flames. His entire body was covered with a layer of light black. Looking at Li Anping, whose face was covered with blood, he shouted wildly, "Madman! You madman, do you want to die together? We will be burned to death together." The burning pain of the flames made Li Anping look ferocious. The skin on his face rolled up piece by piece and turned black, exposing his teeth. Compared to West, his pain was much more intense. West was only heated in a layer of iron box, while Li Anping's entire body was burned by fire and turned into ashes bit by bit. Seeing West struggling crazily, Li Anping just hugged him tightly and ignored the other party's questions. The bet was right, there is too much metal in this guy's body and his speed is too slow, there is no way he can escape within a second or two. Originally, he could have rushed out with his invulnerability and would have been a little burned at most, but now that he is caught by me, he will be reduced to ashes. Li Anping was glad that the other party's reaction was as he expected. Even if the other party could escape, he would have other follow-up plans, but if he could come up and kill the strongest person, the rest would be easy. In the flames, West struggled harder and harder, and faint green smoke began to appear from his body. Li Anping hugged his body like a stove. You madman, West felt like he couldn't get out of Li Anping's arms and yelled crazily. Suddenly, he looked at Li Anping's face. I saw that the originally rolled skin slowly grew out, the burnt dead flesh fell off the face, and new tender flesh grew out again in its original position. But after a while, they were all scorched black by the flames. Yeah, he yelled. When West saw this, he still didn't understand. The other party had super self-healing ability. In this flame, he would be the only one to die. But he tried his best, but still couldn't break free from his opponent's arms. He kept kicking Li Anping's thighs and lower body with his knees, but the opponent's arms remained motionless. Since using his abilities to practice, Li Anping has died countless times and been injured in a short period of time. Severe pain has long ceased to be an obstacle for him. Pain will only stimulate his potential. After struggling again and failing, he looked at the dull expression on Li Anping's reborn face. West finally showed a desperate look. He stopped struggling and shouted, "Super fast regeneration." Li Anping's expression changed, he is sending a message to his companions. Super power, oh, West roared, but halfway through, he was swallowed back by Li Anping's headbutt. At this moment, with a bang, the car exploded again, covering up all the roars and sounds of fighting. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 23. Li Anping waved his hand, and with a bang, a large piece of burning car wreckage flew in all directions. Li Anping also walked out of the flames. In his other hand, West had turned into a charred corpse. The previous Kuai-chiang and Ryan had already disappeared. At this time, Li Anping's body was still covered in flames, and bones could be seen on half of his face. He tilted his neck and walked towards the fire hydrant on the street. Escaped, or do you want to distance yourself and attack me? Listening to the sound, it was heading north. Anyway, put out the fire first. Feeling that the energy was no longer coming from the body, Li Enping threw West's body on the ground casually, then raised his right foot and kicked it towards the fire hydrant in front of him. With a bang, the fire hydrant was deformed and broken by the kick. Water sprayed out from the ground and poured on Li Enping's body. While his body felt cool, he felt that the energy in his body became more surging. Ha 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 ha, so much energy, this West is stronger than that nigger, and his soul energy is more than that nigger. Halfway through his words, He shouted maliciously, you don't care about that corpse on the ground, it's already cooked, don't you want to try it? Li Enping ignored him, it's the same as usual, half of it is used to strengthen the body, and the other half is saved. While he was talking, most of the burns on Li Enping's body had healed, leaving only his hair, eyebrows, and other hair that had not grown back. Are you sure you don't want to grow hair? This is too ugly. Li Enping curled his lips and said, what this consumes are human souls and human lives? I wouldn't waste a human life on something like this. What is my current fitness level? Hee, strength is 2.8, speed is 2.7, physical fitness is 3.8, and there are 2 desserts left, let's go and eat them. Clenching his fists, Li Enping felt that his strength had reached a new level. He looked towards the north. Although he couldn't see it, he could clearly hear the breathing and footsteps of Kuai-Chiang and Ryan in his ears. The voices of the 2 people talking can also be heard. Quick shot. Why are you running away? West is dead. He is dead, and you want us to run away in such a dejected manner. On the other side was Kuai-Chiang's methodical voice, the opponent can suppress West's metal body in terms of strength, and has super self-healing ability. We have no chance of winning in close combat. And using such an explosive method to attack, it is difficult to tell the opponent is there only one person? Considering that your ability is not suitable for direct conflict, under the current situation, it is best for us to evacuate quickly. Hearing this, Li Enping sneered, and there was a loud noise under his feet. The person disappeared without a trace, leaving only the broken cement floor. Kuai-Xiao and Ryan were running with all their strength on the street. After reaching an intersection, Kuai-Xiao pulled out his pistol and pointed it at the driver of a car on the side of the road. Get off! The driver raised his hands above his head with a look of panic. Ryan on the side had already opened the door, grabbed the driver, and sat on it himself. He's coming, Ryan shouted as he started the car, get in the car quickly, why are you standing there? Kuai-Chiang looked at the other side of the street. A man with a bald head and no eyebrows was chasing him at an unimaginable speed. When Ryan finished his sentence, he was already 100 meters closer to the 2 of them. That kind of car exploded, but now it is intact. What is this monster-like self-healing power? Thinking of this, Kuai-Chiang shouted at Ryan. You go first, he's too fast, I'll stay and delay for a while. As he said that, he fired 2 shots at Li Enping. He saw a ball of blood bursting out from each of the opponent's legs, and then shot towards Li Enping. He fell forward towards the ground. But Li Enping didn't seem to feel any pain. As he fell forward, he put his hands on the ground and flew into the air. He flew to a height of 5 or 6 meters before falling. When he fell, the bullets in his legs had been squeezed out by the growing muscles. After taking a few steps, he ran towards the 2 of them at high speed again, barely stopping during the whole process. Kuai-Chiang frowned even more when he saw this. Just now the bullet was able to explode blood mist on him, why is the power so much weaker this time? There is also this self-healing ability, no, it should already be the regeneration ability. Leave quickly, go find Shang Angguo and arrange for the army to come, he shouted as he raised his gun again and shot at Li Enping. This time the target was his eyes. Damn it, what kind of monster is this? Ryan also sensed Li Enping's performance with sound waves. His expression was as if he had seen a ghost. He stepped on the accelerator and the car rushed out like an arrow. Kuai Chiang's shooting skills were simply amazing. The bullets seemed to have eyes. No matter how Li Anping turned left and right or ran in an S-shaped pattern, he could not avoid it. He felt a sharp pain in his eyes, and Li Anping had lost his vision. He jumped hard to the right and knocked open a small section of the wall. As the cement and lime flew around, he brought up a huge gust of wind and broke into a house. The residents inside the house let out a series of screams and ran outside. At this time, the streets were in chaos after the gunshots were fired. In the house, Li Anping was half kneeling behind the wall. He covered his eyes with one hand and listened to the other party's movements with all his strength. However, he did not hear the footsteps, only the sound of changing bullets. "Didn't you take the opportunity to escape? It took about 10 seconds for both of my eyes to fully recover before Sonic Man escaped, leaving the gunman behind. Do you want to delay me?" While thinking, Li Anping reached into his eye with his fingers, exerted a little force, squeezed in and took out the bullet. The heart-wrenching pain made him roar. "We must hurry up, the police will be here soon. At least we have to eat this gunman then, let's restore one eye first." 5 seconds later, Li Anping's right eye regenerated first. He glanced at the room that he had messed up, walked to the door, grabbed the door panel with both arms and pulled it hard, and then rushed to the street against the door panel, running towards the direction of the fast gun. Boom! 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 Footsteps sounded. Li Anping held the door panel, like a charging tank, rushing on the street, knocking away all the cars and bicycles parked along the way. This caused his speed at this moment to be not as fast as before, but it looked more shocking. "It only took 5 seconds. This monster regenerates faster than I thought." Kuai Shao looked at Li Anping, who was rushing at him like a wild beast, and backed away while shooting. The bullet passed through the door panel, but could not hit Li Anping's eyes and stop him from moving forward. Damn, if Ryan was here, it would be great. He would know where his weak spot was. Until all the bullets in the pistol were fired, Li Anping did not stop at all. Seeing that Li Anping had run 50 meters away, Kuai Shao immediately turned around and left, changing bullets while running. But as soon as he changed bullets, he was discovered by Li Anping. He saw him lift the door panel, with more than a dozen bullet holes on his body, and blood kept coming out. Seeing Kuai Shao turning around and running, Li Anping sneered, raised the door panel in his hand high above his head, and threw it at Kuai Shao. Boom! The sound of breaking air sounded from behind Kuai Shao's head. Although he had not thought about what was coming, his body had already reacted one step ahead of his brain. He rolled on the ground, avoided the door panel, then got up and ran forward without looking back. This rolling and crawling showed that Quick Gun was well trained. If it was someone else, he might have escaped. But such a pause was too much time for Li Anping. He kicked hard with his right foot and appeared behind Quick Gun, grabbing his shoulder. Quick Gun's shoulder was restrained, and he knew that he could not beat the opponent in terms of strength, so he turned around and pointed the gun at Li Anping's face. But in terms of close-range reaction speed, how could he compare with Li Anping, whose physical fitness was enhanced again and again? When he pulled the trigger, Li Anping's neck had tilted and dodged the opponent's gun. Bang! After a shot. Quick Gun wanted to take action, but found that his strength was draining away like a tide. He looked down and found that Li Anping's right hand was slowly withdrawing from his chest. And with the opponent's right hand, something seemed to surge in his body. Looking at Li Anping's expressionless face, he opened his mouth to say something, but he could only spit out blood in large mouthfuls, and could not say anything. Li Anping pulled out his right hand, sighed at the fast gun slowly falling in front of him, and reached out to close the other's eyes. His ears moved slightly, and he could hear the alarm bells in the distance getting closer and closer. The strength is 2.9, the speed is 2.8, and the physical fitness is 3.9. Hey Kinky said, I thought this gunman was so troublesome, and his ability should be very strong, but it turned out that his soul power is not as good as the previous Iron Man. That Soundwave man ran away, do you want to chase him? Of course. Li Enping jumped onto the street lamp, and then jumped hard again, and jumped onto the roof of a 6th-floor building, leaving a large dent on the street lamp. The street was in a mess. 10 minutes later, the police finally arrived and stared blankly at the incredible battlefield. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 24. After Huang Linjun received the news, he was the first to lead people to the scene. When he saw the footage in the surveillance video on the road, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. This kind of regenerative ability, what exactly is this guy's origin? A police officer next to him was also surprised when he saw it. What kind of monster is he? Aliens have invaded the Earth. Team Yellow? What should we do? We can't catch this kind of monster even if we know where it is, right? Huang Linjun said, inform the people from the traffic police team and tell them the car that the white man took away. Let them tell me where the white man escaped. I want to catch up. A group of policemen looked at each other. They didn't want to catch up with this monster that couldn't be beaten or burned. But Huang Linjun ignored them. As he walked into the car, he took out his cell phone and made a call. I am Huang Linjun, the person in charge of Zhongdu City. An uncontrollable incident has occurred in Zhongdu City. According to the on-site judgment, the target's threat has exceeded the first energy level. I request the team to grant E-level authority. A cold voice came from the phone. Understood, I will now grant you E-level authority and be temporarily responsible for on-site coordination. We will arrive in 3 hours. Then the voice on the phone automatically transferred several more calls. E-level permission confirmed. Requesting fire support. Apply for air strikes if necessary. Order the special forces to be in position at any time, to enter Zhongdu City. After a few phone calls, everyone around him fell silent. They stared at Huang Linjun blankly, as if they had just met each other. Everyone, this case is over. What happens next is beyond your control. Thank you for your hard work, for your cooperation during this period. By the way, don't forget to ask the traffic police to track the white man's location from the surveillance camera. Please report to me in 5 minutes. After saying that, Huang Linjun got into the car alone. After the car started, he suddenly stuck his head out and shouted at Geng Zhong, who was in a daze, "Why are you dazed? Why don't you get in the car quickly?" Me, Geng Zhong pointed at himself in surprise. Yes, it's you, rookie, catch up with me. At the same time, on the other side, inside the Jiahua funeral home in the north of Zhongdu City, a funeral will be held. The deceased's name was Shang Zhenbang, the second son of Zhongdu City Mayor Shang Angguo. The funeral held this time was also unprecedentedly large, with almost all the celebrities in Central City attending voluntarily, for fear that the lack of etiquette would be resented by Shang Angguo, who was immersed in the pain of losing his son. In the lounge of the funeral home, Shang Angguo was sitting on a recliner with his eyes closed. His originally energetic face had become much more decadent in just a few days, and his hair had become much grayer. Su Lishuan on the side stepped forward and said, "Brother, I express my condolences and accept the change." Yes, Shang Angguo nodded without opening his eyes. "What's the matter?" "It's the head of Waxi Township in the suburbs. It seems that he wants to see you about factory pollution. I waited at the villa all night yesterday. Today I followed you to the funeral parlor. Is that right?" Shang Angguo frowned. "I don't know what day it is. I don't understand any rules. Let him go back to Huaxi." Yes, Su Lishuan bowed and exited the door. But after a while, there was a burst of noise outside the door, and then a middle-aged man with thinning hair and a bitter face broke in. Behind him, several security guards and Su Lishuan followed. "Mayor Shang, there are more than 200 people in Huaxi Township waiting for me. Please let me finish my words. The middle-aged man knelt down as soon as he entered the lounge and cried towards Shang Angguo. The security guard behind him grabbed his arm and pulled him away from behind, but he couldn't stop the other person's crying. Shang Angguo frowned and finally opened his eyes. He waved his hand and dismissed the two security guards. "Let's go," he said kindly to the middle-aged man kneeling on the ground. "Old Wang, what are you kneeling for? There is nothing in this world that cannot be solved. Get up and talk. I didn't know you were outside just now, and the security guards are also afraid of people. You're disturbing me so no one can come in, so don't blame them. Mayor Shang, I know it was wrong for me to come today, but I really have no choice." Lao Wang was still kneeling on the ground and did not get up. "I really can't find you. When I went to the city hall, they never said you were not here. I went to Bihai Arc and was arrested by security before I even got close to the house. Mayor Shang, it was Scene International Company that you introduced us to, and we agreed to let them open the factory. But the sewage they discharge is all poisonous, and now there isn't even a fish in the river. As of the day before yesterday, the crops in the fields were all dead, and many children were sick. Mayor, we really can't delay this matter any longer. You can't just let it go." Shang Angguo raised his eyebrows and said slowly, "Last time, didn't you sign a contract with Star International and agree to them discharging sewage into the river? They seem to have given you a lot of compensation. They said it wasn't poisonous, but now all the adults and children in the county are sick. I want to close that factory, but I say it was specially approved by you. I've searched all over the city leaders and no one is taking care of it." Lao Wang shouted and kowtowed, "Mayor, I beg you, the entire Huaxi Township depends on farming. Now not only are we unable to survive, but we are also sick. I can't hold on anymore." "Well, I understand." Shang Angguo nodded seriously and said, "This matter is very serious. I will communicate with Star International. Don't worry, Lao Wang, let the villagers also rest assured. I will give," they told each other. "Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, you are truly a noble man." At that moment, Shang Angguo and Su Lishuan comforted Lao Wang a few words with kind faces and sent him to the door of the lounge. But as soon as he turned around, Shang Angguo's face darkened. "What did you do? If this kind of thing is brought up above, it will make me very passive." Su Lishuan quickly explained, "Maybe the people sent have lowered the price. I will send people there again and give each person 100,000 to ensure that no one will care about this matter again." Shang Angguo sighed. Scene International was introduced by Jinhai. It is a large international company. This year, we have invested a total of 1 billion in this sewage plant. My achievements in attracting investment this year will also be announced to the capital at the end of the year. The report depends entirely on them, you know." "Brother, I understand," Su Lishuan asked again, "but that old Wang is a bit stubborn. He has been refusing to accept money, and he also led a group of people to oppose the sewage treatment plant. Last time, he was exposed on TV. Fortunately I had someone stop me, and it will be a bit difficult for me to do this. It seems that he has been in Huaxi for too long and his brain is no longer clear." Shang Angguo said, "In this case, isn't the city planning to recruit a group of cotters to support the Northwest? Bring him along. Come on." "Ah," Su Lishuan said in surprise, "but, Lao Wang is already over 50. Shang Angguo smiled and said, "It's never too late to serve the country and the people. If he is so upright, let him go to the Northwest to exercise." Although Shang Angguo smiled, Su Lishuan felt shuddering. The Northwest is more than bitterly cold. It is located on the border, bordering the ice castle, and there are constant wars all year round. There are also many international terrorist organizations. It is a place where all officials are unwilling to go even if they are beaten to death. It can be regarded as the most dangerous place in Daxia, where various officials are exiled. Old Wang is going this time, and I'm afraid he won't be able to return to Zhongdu when he's pregnant. Thinking of this, Su Lishuan lowered his head to the ground. By the way, hasn't Shishi come yet? Shang Angguo said. Why hasn't it taken so long? She's pregnant. Something happened. It should be okay, maybe it's too sad. I'm calling to ask. Su Lishuan took out his mobile phone and dialed Wei Shishi's number, but the call came that the other party had turned off his phone. What's going on? Lishuan, send someone to check. I'm going to the auditorium first. Outside the funeral home, because there is no space in the parking lot, both sides of the street are already lined up with cars, and there are all kinds of luxury cars worth tens of millions. If you drive an ordinary car worth hundreds of thousands, you will sorry to stop here. Pedestrians passing by were secretly wondering who was so grand. However, the road outside the funeral home was not wide to begin with, and one lane was suddenly occupied on both sides, causing serious congestion. Li Qian was on the street at this time. Looking at the rows of vehicles, I couldn't help but sigh, it's just like a driving show. She raised her phone and took pictures of the cars parked on both sides of the street. We also found many license plates from the military, government, aviation and other departments. Halfway through the filming, there was suddenly another quarrel in front of them. Seeing more and more people gathering, Li Qian also moved forward and squeezed into the crowd with her mobile phone. Why did you park the car? It was too much. I didn't see it and blocked the road. That's right, why park the car here? I have to rush to the airport. How can we do it if the road is blocked? Li Qian looked around and found that there was a bus crossing the street. The intersection was blocked and no cars were allowed to pass in front of the funeral home. So from time to time, drivers got off the bus, ran to the bus and began to curse. The crowd gathered more and more, and the cars in the back kept honking their horns, making noises one after another. The driver on the bus got out of the driving seat, pointed at the swearing drivers and yelled, "The funeral parlor is closed today, please take a detour." This time the crowd became even more excited, and many drivers yelled and cursed, but that man ignored others and went back to the bus, leaving the drivers to complain in front of the bus. As a result, a car hit the bus with a bang. It turned out that someone wanted to drive through the gap left by the bus, but ended up colliding with the parking space of the bus. Now the bus driver got anxious, jumped out of the car, and yelled at the driver who hit him, "Are you looking for death? Do you know who is doing the funeral? Damn it, you dare to crash the bus, pay for it? Don't leave until you pay for it." Seeing the collision, several security guards in black suits and sunglasses ran out of the funeral home. They opened the door and pulled the driver out, beating him until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen. This was like igniting gunpowder. Several drivers who were blocked rushed over and started pushing each other with the security guards, and a fight was about to begin. Fortunately, someone called the police beforehand. The traffic police arrived and stopped the two parties. However, the traffic police advised the security guards to move the bus to temporarily allow vehicles to pass, but the security guards ignored them at all. Don't even think about it. I'm telling you, don't think that just because you are a police officer is great. Your leaders are all in the auditorium today. Before he finished speaking, Su Lishuan had already walked over with several leaders of the traffic police team. What's going on? What day is it today? Why do you do this to me? Su Lishuan shouted at the security guards, "Go back to me, how can you beat someone?" After that, he took out several thousand yuan from his pocket and gave it to the beaten driver. "I won't pursue the matter of your car accident. This money is considered medical expenses. Take it." The traffic police leader behind him also stood up and ordered the traffic police who rushed to the scene, "Which brigade are you from? The municipal government has an event on the street today and the road is closed. Let all the cars back out quickly." Don't block the exit. The traffic police leader has spoken, and the drivers on the scene have no choice. It's worth backing out one by one. But there are cars coming in from outside. With this in and out, the vehicles have been blocked for hundreds of meters. The traffic police on duty are sweating profusely. Li Qian sneered secretly. Watching Su Lishuan and others walking back, she raised her mobile phone in her hand and took pictures of the scene. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 25. In the auditorium, more than 100 men and women attended the funeral. As the elite class of Zhongdu, every move made by any one of them has a huge impact on Zhongdu. They either hold billions of wealth or are in charge of a powerful party. We are gathered here just because the protagonist of this funeral is Shang Zhenbang, the most powerful man in Zhongdu, the son of Shang Angguo. Men and women gathered together in twos and threes, talking to each other. This funeral is also a rare communication gathering for them. Only Shang Angguo can bring together so many powerful people in Zhongdu city. The two brothers Huo Qing and Huo Fei stood alone in a corner of the auditorium, looking out of place with the atmosphere of the entire auditorium. Looking at the men and women chatting around him, and listening to the terms they used such as investment, rate of return, yachts, and golf, Huo Fei's expression became more and more disdainful. Seeing his appearance, Huo Qing chuckled and said, "Xiao Fei, don't look down on them. Do you think you can kill all the people in this auditorium alone? Yes, that's true. But killing can't solve the problem. You kill any one of them and our whole gang will be wiped out the next day. On the contrary, if they want to deal with you, they only need to use their mouths, and there is no risk at all. Remember, those who fight bravely and rely on ability and skill to get ahead are just the anger of a common man and can never be compared to the power brought by power and money. The anger of an ordinary man will cause blood to splash 5 steps, the anger of the emperor will cause millions of corpses to be laid down. Which one do you think is more powerful?" Huo Fei was silent for a moment, then said coldly, "I know, but I just can't stand how hypocritical they are. Saying one thing and doing another is really disgusting. Lies and hypocrisy are the best lubricants in this world. Without these, the entire order of human society will collapse in less than 3 days." Halfway through his words, Huo Qing suddenly turned his head thoughtfully, found that Huo Fei had disappeared. He smiled, raised his hands to signal to the men on one side, and walked over. "Director Wan, long time no see." On the other side, Anna and a middle-aged woman were also in the auditorium. The middle-aged woman next to her raised her eyebrows and had her hair tied up. At first glance, she looked like a powerful and resolute woman. A woman's skin looks fragile, and she has definitely spent a lot of time and money on maintaining it. Her face is vaguely similar to Anna next to her, but she is Anna's mother, Lu Qian. At this moment, she was talking loudly with several ladies, while Anna beside her stood obediently, silently. She was knocked unconscious by Ulung in the hospital and suffered a slight concussion. She has been staying in the hospital since then. During this period, the police also came to take notes, but they were blocked by her mother. "Ching Ching, your daughter is so cute. I heard that she is currently studying finance at Tianchen University. What, do you plan to let her inherit your husband's company in the future?" He Lu Ching Ching laughed, "What kind of company does the girl belong to? I really hope that she will calm down and find a good husband to marry, so I brought her here today. It will save her old age. It was with her college classmates." "Haha, everyone has their youth," another lady said. "Nana, look over there. The young master of the Lu family has inherited the ancestral shipping business at a young age. He is young and promising. He is still young." Next to him was the second son of the Fan family, a master of law who had returned from studying in the Amastrian Federation. He came back this year to take over the family's import and export business. And Mr. Wan on the left is the son of Director Wan of the Public Security Bureau. I heard he is also from Tiancheng University and happens to be an alumnus of Nana. Hearing what her mother and several ladies were talking about, Anna's face became a little ugly, and she felt more and more disgusted in her heart. Lu Qingqing frowned when she saw Anna's expression. After the ladies left, she began to teach Anna a lesson. Nana, what's the matter with you? I'll bring you here to meet the upper class in Zhongdu and gain experience. Don't make a bad face for me. This is not your home. Everyone is waiting for you. Anna knew that her mother had not cared about her in the past few years, but she suddenly brought her out today. I want him to find a young master to marry, as a marriage tool for the family. This was something she never wanted to agree to. She knew that if she didn't start to resist now, it would be too late to resist later. So she plucked up the courage and said, "Mom, you haven't cared about me since I was a child. Why do you care about me now that I'm older? I have someone I like, and I don't need you to arrange it." After listening to what Anna said, Lu Qingqing's face became even more ugly. She was used to having everything in her own hands, and what she couldn't stand the most was when someone in her family opposed her arrangements. When several guests on the side saw the two people arguing, they secretly pricked up their ears and planned to watch the show. Do they know that this Lu Qian is a powerful woman? In his 20s, he married Anna's father, who was already in his 50s. After giving birth to Anna, he devoted himself to joining the upper class. With her sharp teeth and long sleeves, she is good at dancing. Nowadays, in the wealthy circles of the central city, everyone will give her some face. Anna's father's company grew bigger and bigger, and this woman also had some credit for it. Okay, okay, okay. Lu Qian had a dark face and whispered to Anna, "I still don't know who you like. That Li Anping has died long ago, and even if he hadn't died, he would have ended up on the run. I will take you to meet a few gentlemen in a moment, all of them are real good people. Today is the beginning of your entry into the upper class society. Don't make trouble for me later, got it? If you don't behave well for me, I'll go back and ask your dad to take care of you." "I'm not going." Anna turned her head and ignored Lu Qian. "Mom, you didn't care about me before, don't care about me now." "Okay, your wings are strong, right?" Ye Qian's face became darker and darker, and her eyes narrowed slightly, which was a little scary. "Are you going?" Anna exhaled. Although she was overwhelmed by her mother's momentum, she kept her head down and did not answer. "Okay, okay, okay, I'll take care of you when I get back." Lu Qian looked around, obviously not wanting to really quarrel with her daughter here, that would be too embarrassing. "Aunt Lu, long time no see, who is this?" At this moment, a young man in a suit and leather shoes with an extraordinary temperament walked towards Lu Qian and her daughter. This man walked like a dragon and had a slender and powerful figure. At first glance, you can tell that he has an extraordinary background, and he is not an ordinary second-generation ancestor who relies on his parents. He is a wealthy young man with his own ideals and ambitions. He, this is my daughter Nana." Lu Qian covered her mouth and smiled, not looking unhappy at all. Showing her proficient social skills, she pointed at the young man and said, "Nana, this is Mr. Quan, the son of lawyer Su's family. He just came back from the capital. The chain of supermarkets he runs has assets of more than 20,000 yuan in just 1 year." Yi, absolutely young and promising. Aunt Lu is so complimentary. There are so many young talents here today, how could it be my turn? It's a pity that Zhenbang left too early. Alas, I think he also grew up playing with me when he was young." After saying this, the two of them observed another moment of silence. Then the man known as Mr. Quan looked at Anna, with a glint in his eyes. "Miss Nana is indeed Aunt Liu's daughter. She is even more beautiful than the rumors say. Aunt Lu, you two mother and daughter stand together today and bring all the girls together. The guests are all in competition. Mr. Quan, you are the one who deserves the prize. Nana hasn't graduated yet and is still a little girl. I brought her here today to see what upper-class society is like. You two are young people. If you can get closer to her, Nana, if you learn a little less, you won't be able to use it all. Hearing the conversation between the two, Anna's face became colder and colder. Mr. Kwan saw Anna's expression, but the corners of his mouth turned up. He stretched out his hand to Anna, Su Kwan, chairman of AC Group. Nana, when will you graduate? Do you want to come to our group for an internship? You can learn in school. No matter how much, it's better to go to the front line and experience it in person. I was the same way. Su Kwan's words were full of confidence. He is no more than 27.8 years old, but he already owns a company with a market value of over 100 million. Compared with the achievements achieved by other second-generation ancestors by inheriting their father's business. No wonder he has such strong self-confidence. Of course, he would not calculate how much his father Su Lishuan helped his company. For an ordinary woman, he just needs to hook his fingers and go to bed on his own. The uncharacteristic behavior of Anna in front of him actually aroused his interest. Seeing Su Kwan's hand stretched out in front of her eyes, Anna's brows furrowed. The thing she despises the most is this kind of second-generation ancestor, young master. Relying on their family's wealth and power, they have done well whether they are involved in officialdom or running companies. There is a condescending confidence deep in his bones. Especially looking down on ordinary civilians. He usually behaves gracefully, but once the mask is taken off, he is more vicious than the most ferocious jackal. When Mr. Kwan first moved into the retail business in Zhongdu City, he forced countless shops to go bankrupt and jump off their buildings. It was only thanks to the power of his father and the mayor to engage in monopoly and vicious competition that the company could develop so well in a short period of time. Lu Qian on the side kept winking, but Anna didn't respond at all. This made Su Kwan, who stretched out his hand, extremely embarrassed. At this moment, the door to the auditorium opened. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 26. Huang Linjun drove the police car at high speed and passed through several red lights in succession. While driving, he was also on the phone, keeping in touch with the traffic police, task forces, the military, etc. Hello, Mayor Shang? I am Huang Linjun, the leader of the 115 Task Force Carrot. Yes, I know. However, there is now a very dangerous superpowered criminal heading towards the location of Jiahua Funeral Home. For your safety, I hope you will evacuate from there immediately. I understand, and I ask for your condolences, but that criminal. Halfway through the words, the other party had already hung up the phone. Hello? 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 Huang Linjun called again, but was hung up on. He couldn't help but curse, these bureaucrats have no idea about the destructive power of ability users. Geng Zhong glanced at him and then turned away, looking like he was hesitant to speak. Huang Linjun was originally a marginalized figure in the city police department. Although he was senior and had a high official rank, he had never been heard of solving any cases. This time Wanan was sent to preside over the work of the 115 Task Force. To be honest, even Geng Zhong, a newcomer, had some speculations. But Huang Linjun's current performance has completely solved his past doubts. The other party was actually able to directly contact the army and mobilize special forces. The power was completely beyond his expectation. Huang Linjun glanced at him and passed a red light with the horn on. What's wrong? Is it strange that I would ask you to come over? Geng Zhong had a lot of thoughts in his heart. There were simply too many things that made him feel strange and doubtful. Regarding the mobilization of the army, What exactly is the first energy level, E-level authority, and the super-powered criminal? Seemingly knowing what Geng Zhong was thinking, he smiled at him. I know you have a lot of things you want to know, but I can only tell you now that the super-powered criminal is very dangerous, both in terms of his character and his abilities. So we stop him now. If you want to quit now, it's still too late. Geng Zhong thought for a while and finally said, why? You have seen how dangerous the suspect is, right? And you should have called the Special Operations Force just now, right? Why do you still need to take care of this matter in this case? This has nothing to do with our police at all, right? Huang Linjun sighed, but the speed of the car did not slow down at all, showing his strong psychological ability and superb driving skills. Do you think that the death of all the people he killed was not a pity? They deserve to die, not to mention other criminals such as traffickers and murderers. As for that Shang Zhenbang, last month I watched with my own eyes as he framed a brave college student into a rapist that everyone wanted to beat. You know how incompetent I felt at that time? That was the first time I felt that this police uniform gave me not only power, but also restraint. You know, next he beat a traffic policeman into a vegetative state. When I learned the news, I felt as if I had harmed him. If he had been arrested for the rape, there would have been no more victims. After that, I wanted to shoot that bastard every day. So you think the existence of the suspect is reasonable? To tell you the truth, I have thought about it this way. Geng Zhong laughed at himself. Sometimes I even think that he has done things that we police should do but cannot do. His workload in 1 week may be more than what we can do in 1 week. It won't be completed in a year. Killing is wrong, Huang Linjun said seriously. No matter how just and sufficient the reason is, once he starts to commit suicide privately, he has already committed a crime. Trying to use crime to prevent crime is a fallacy in itself. As for the suspect who puts this kind of behavior into practice, his thoughts are undoubtedly extremely dangerous. Have you ever thought about how many people will follow the example of being a superhero once something like this is exposed? Follow him and do the same thing? Although his starting point was good, the result was nothing but terror and turmoil. What society needs is stable development, not such terrorist activities of individual heroism. I will never let a criminal like him go. Geng Zhong's expression was suffocated. He had never thought of it that way. Huang Linjun continued, but he is dead this time. The Army's Special Operations Force has experience in dealing with super-powered criminals. He is only a first-level rookie. What awaits him will only be endless imprisonment. Until his abilities and body are thoroughly studied, and then he dies silently in a corner. Geng Zhong was speechless. Although he had long known that this was the consequence of going against the state machinery, he still felt it was a pity. The people in the upper positions are all those who have no qualifications, and the incompetent people occupy important positions by virtue of their connections and backgrounds. Times are developing and technology is advancing, but there is less and less space for everyone. Everyone walks along an invisible line when they are born. The group of people at the top of the pyramid dominate 80% of the entire society. The combined power of 1 million poor people is not as powerful as one rich person, so money has become everything. The power of an individual is infinitesimally small, and those who dare to go against the current will eventually be crushed into dust. Perhaps this is not an era for heroes. Geng Zhong sighed. That's ridiculous. Shang Angguo hung up the phone with an unhappy look on his face. He said to Su Lishuan behind him, "This Huang Linjun, please go back and ask Wanan to make arrangements and transfer him away. I don't want to see him again." "Humph, you think you are great even if you have some ability, and you want me to cancel today's appointment funeral, so stupid." After saying that, he still seemed to feel disdainful and shook his head again. Su Lishuan behind him did not reply, but silently took note of Shang Angguo's words. He knew that Shang Angguo did not need to answer at this time, he was just venting his emotions. Huang Linjun just ran into the muzzle of the gun. However, the other party actually ran into Shang Angguo when he was in pain of losing his son, which was really short-sighted. Shang Angguo said these few words: no matter where he was transferred by Wanan, his official career in this life would end here. In addition to Su Lishuan, Shang Angguo was followed by more than a dozen security guards, all of whom were retired Special Forces soldiers. They were recruited by Shang Angguo for many years to form the Shang family's own defense force. Last time, Shang Zhenbang had capable people to protect him, so he did not let these Special Forces soldiers follow him. Now it seems that these Special Forces soldiers are much more reliable than any capable people. So he did not let West and his party protect him. In Shang Angguo's opinion, no one with special abilities can compare to having more people and more guns. No matter how you control oxygen, you can always hit the target. As long as I have a dozen people and a dozen guns, I can shoot you to death. Even if you are invulnerable, if the pistol doesn't work, you can use a machine gun. If the machine gun doesn't work, then there is still a rocket launcher. Humph, don't you see what era it is? You are still playing this trick with me. Ridiculous. He turned to Su Lishuan and ordered, send half of the security guards. If anyone comes to make trouble for me at this time, don't show mercy and arrest them directly. Understood. Su Lishuan quickly turned around and ordered the security captain. Shang Angguo walked around a corner, pushed open the door, and walked into the auditorium. When the door opened, whether it was Huo Qing, Huo Fei, Anna, Lu Qian, or Su Quan, everyone in the auditorium stopped talking unconsciously and looked over. Facing everyone's eyes, Shang Angguo walked in. In these eyes, there was envy, jealousy, yearning, and admiration. But there was one thing in common, that was awe. Shang Angguo was very satisfied with this situation, which made him know that his control over Zhongdu City had not been reduced. He waved his hand casually, signaling everyone to continue. But even as the conversation continued, the center of the entire auditorium, whether intentionally or unintentionally, leaned towards Shang Angguo. Immediately, some middle-aged and elderly men leaned towards Shang Angguo. They included the deputy mayor, Director Wanan, some cadres at the department level and representatives of some large families. They were all people whose status in the auditorium was second only to Shang Angguo. After they finished contacting Shang Angguo, it was the turn of other people at a lower level. Layer by layer, this is an unspoken rule for gatherings in Zhongdu City. Su Quan looked at Shang Angguo surrounded by the crowd, and said with longing, Mayor Shang is really a hero of his generation. If it weren't for his guidance in the past few years, Zhongdu would never have developed as well as it is now. I wish I could have half of Mayor Shang's achievements in my life. Lu Qian on the side also sighed, yes, if a person can get to this point, this life is worth it. It's a pity that the murderer who killed Zhenbang has not been arrested or even found. I really can't understand how someone can be so cruel to kill people at will and destroy the stability of the people. Su Quan heard it and couldn't help showing off the news he had just received. Aunt Lu, don't worry. I heard from my father, Su Lishuan, that the mayor not only set up a special task force, but also mobilized some of his friends, and the suspect will be caught soon. Oh, that's good. Lu Qian patted her chest and said, I have been afraid to go shopping in the mall these days. I heard that there are several new clothes for winter, but I haven't had time to buy them yet. Looking at Su Quan's smug expression, Anna couldn't help but sarcastically said, the murderer has been caught for several weeks. I heard that he escaped from the bar surrounded by the armed police at the beginning. I don't think ordinary police can catch him. Nana, you don't know this. Su Quan looked at Anna with a self-proclaimed mysterious expression. There are many supernatural things in this world. There are also many talented people. The friend invited by Mayor Shang this time is such a person. The suspect may have been caught by the mayor, but I think he would rather the police catch him now. Lu Qian on the side also agreed with her face, thinking that she had heard some secrets. Thinking that Su Lishuan is worthy of being Shang Angwo's confidant, his son knows so many secrets. As long as he has this relationship with his father, he will definitely be successful in this life. At this moment, Shang Angwo has walked onto the podium. The funeral is about to begin. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, SpecialAbilities. Chapter 27. On the podium, Shang Angwo looked calm, took out the manuscript he had written in advance, and began to speak. Shang Zhenbang, my son. On the street, Ryan stepped on the accelerator desperately. He glanced at the rear-view mirror, and his eyes instantly shrank like needles. Li Enping's demonic figure was slowly emerging. He has been smart, cute, kind, and honest since he was a child. Everyone in the audience looked solemn. The car driven by Ryan was weaving in and out of the traffic like a fish, always able to grab the lane at the last moment, but no matter how fast Ryan drove, the figure in the rear-view mirror never disappeared. The past is vague and my eyes are hazy with tears. No words can express how much we miss him. Ryan stepped on the accelerator, and the car was going faster and faster, but he still couldn't get rid of Li Enping's figure. When he turned a corner again, a line of cars hundreds of meters long blocked his eyes. Enlarge. To his friends, he is heroic, to his colleagues, he works hard and is selfless. To his parents, he is meticulous and always grateful. As he read, Shang Angwo's eyes gradually turned red. Ryan slammed on the brakes but couldn't stop in time. He was about to hit the rear of the car in front of him. He jerked the steering wheel, and eventually the whole car overturned and rolled towards the side of the road. At this moment, friends are sad, relatives hide their faces, and colleagues are choked with tears. We don't want to believe it, and we can't believe this heavy fact. The car hit the guardrail and rolled over into a flower bed on the street. Ryan's forehead was full of blood. He took off his seatbelt and hurriedly climbed out. When he turned around, Li Enping was walking slowly from the street. He quickly got up and stumbled towards the door of the funeral home. My wife has lost a good husband, my parents have lost a good and filial son, and my friend has lost a good brother. Shang Angwo's voice gradually choked up, and some people in the audience gradually couldn't help but cry. When they saw Ryan rushing towards the funeral home with blood on his face, the driver of the bus and several security guards at the door came to stop him and asked him to stop. Stop. Who are you? Idiot, don't get in my way. Watch your back. When the security guards at the door closed their eyes, the last thing they saw was the sky-high blood and the screaming crowd. Among the panicked crowd, only Li Qian did not move a step. Her eyes were fixed on Li Enping, who was killing wantonly, exactly like the figure in her video recorder. The other party looked like a devil at this moment, but in her eyes, he turned into a hero who resisted the powerful and moved forward indomitably. Li Qian's eyes were filled with brilliance and admiration, like a saint praying to the gods. It's a long way to heaven, I wish you a safe journey. In the auditorium, Shang Angwo had tears in his eyes, and was helped down by Su Lishuan. Then everyone bowed 3 times in succession to Shang Zhenbang's portrait. Outside the auditorium, a white man walked staggeringly to the door. His wide eyes were full of fear. He was reaching out to push the door open when a hand grabbed him from behind his head, clamped his head and pulled him back. Help! Before he could say a word, the other hand of the person behind him blocked his mouth, leaving only a whimper. Help me, someone come and save me. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Ryan's eyes were fixed on the door, but the door of the auditorium was getting farther and farther away from him. His body seemed to be dragged to hell by the devil, sinking forever in the darkness. After a few seconds, he closed his eyes forever. With a creak, the door of the auditorium was opened, and everyone couldn't help but look towards the door behind them. I saw a bald man over 2 meters tall walking in. His upper body was naked, and his lower body trousers were almost turned into pieces of cloth. There were also many blood stains on his body. He looked like he had just come out of a slaughterhouse. Facing everyone's doubtful glances, he looked up at the portrait in the auditorium and showed a cruel smile. "Who is Shang Angguo? And Wei Shishi, where is she? I saw someone interrupting the funeral and calling me and my wife directly." Shang Angguo's face became increasingly ugly. When Su Lishuan saw it, he immediately wanted to stand up, but found that his son had already stood up earlier and nodded secretly in his heart. Su Quan pointed at Li Enping and said righteously, "Is this the auditorium? Do you know whose funeral is being held here today? Please get out immediately." After that, he walked up to Li Enping and was about to push him away. "Go out." At the same time, several men also reacted. Huo Qing looked at the few blood stains on Li Enping's body, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes, and he said playfully, "Ha ha, young people today are really ignorant." Wanan, who was beside him, said angrily, "What's going on with the security guards outside? That someone just broke in." Su Quan pushed Li Enping, but found that he did not push. Then he felt his wrist being grabbed by the other party. "Hey, what are you doing? Let me go." Ah, halfway through his words, his voice turned into a scream. I saw Su Quan kneeling on the ground, his face covered with tears and runny nose, and he screamed heartbreakingly. When Li Enping let go, his wrist had been crushed into a ball, and he saw that one hand was crippled. This scene made everyone's hearts tremble. Everyone was staring at Li Enping, and there was a lot of noise from men and women. Anna was also shocked. She didn't expect that the handsome young master and wealthy young master who was so majestic one moment would have one of his hands crippled the next moment and was lying on the ground crying. "Who are you?" Su Lishuan looked at Li Liping with red eyes, his hands trembling with anger. Su Quan was his most outstanding and beloved son, who had a successful career at a young age. He had already trained him as his future successor. Now that one of his hands had been crippled, he had the urge to go crazy. "Catch him!" Several men in black rushed out of the crowd and rushed towards Li Enping. Li Enping flashed on the ground and his figure swung around the crowd. The men in black fell down halfway through their run, and there was no visible external injury on their bodies. They were all sucked out of their souls by Li Enping. When people reacted, they could only see several men in black falling to the ground, while Li Enping was still standing there, as if he had not moved. Suddenly he frowned and looked at Wan An's side. There was a policeman there who reached into his pocket and was about to take out a gun. He had just taken out half of his gun when Li Enping put his hand on his forehead. He rolled his eyes and fell down softly. This scene made Wan An's ghost beside him tremble. He looked at Li Enping as if he was looking at a demon. After killing another person, Li Enping glanced around and said lightly, "Whoever moves, I will kill him." These 4 words were like the cold wind of Siberia blowing on everyone's face, and all those who were ready to move stopped at once. But all those present were top figures in Zhongdu's upper class, and many of them had seen many ups and downs. It was impossible for them to buy into Li Enping's killing of a few people. Especially Su Lishuan, his eyes were almost spitting fire, pointing at Li Enping and shouting, "Lawless, in broad daylight, taking human lives lightly, it is simply lawless. Come. Come quickly." Li Enping looked at Su Lishuan's face, narrowed his eyes, "I think I know you. I am Su Lishuan from Kinman Law Firm, this is 1 million. It was too dark at the time, you didn't actually see what the person looked like, but you knew afterwards that the owner of the car was Shang Zhenbang, so you thought that person was Shang Zhenbang. In fact, thinking about it afterwards, that person doesn't look like Shang Zhenbang. Just say that." Su Lishuan, Li Enping walked over quickly, and the security guards who came up to stop him were all knocked out by him with 3 punches and 2 kicks. He grabbed Su Lishuan by the collar and pulled him up. "Don't you recognize me? You came to the hospital to look for me on behalf of the mayor, don't you remember? Who are you? Let me go. Li Enping laughed, ignoring the other's struggle, pinched Su Lishuan's neck, and grabbed him like a chicken. Seeing that his face was livid, he smiled and pointed at the people around him and asked, "Tell me which one of them is Shang Angguo, I will let you die quickly." But with his current grip strength, Su Lishuan couldn't say anything with his neck stuck. His eyes bulged and he stared at Li Enping, as if he wanted to say something. But Li Enping just slightly increased the force of his palm again, and with a click, Su Lishuan's neck tilted, and he kicked his legs and died. A cry of surprise rang out. No one thought that Li Enping would really kill Su Lishuan, and a large space was immediately vacated around him. Someone immediately called the police, and someone walked to the door to escape. Shang Angguo, who was standing next to Su Lishuan, also quietly retreated to the crowd. Some people in the crowd looked at Shang Angguo but did not speak. Li Enping casually threw Su Lishuan's body on the ground, took a step, and jumped more than 10 meters. After a few more steps, he came to the door and blocked everyone. "Don't think of leaving if you don't hand over Shang Angguo." Li Enping stood in front of the gate and looked at the panicked crowd and shouted, "I don't want to do it, but if you don't hand over Shang Angguo, I can only kill you all before the police arrive. You'd better not have any crooked ideas. You have seen my methods. The security guards outside have been subdued by me. And I can kill all the people in this auditorium by myself. So your only way out is to hand over Shang Angguo." After listening to Li Enping's words, several people immediately looked at Shang Angguo hiding behind the crowd. But many people also felt angry. "Do you know who is here today? You have already killed Su Lishuan, and you will die if you leave." In the crowd, Huo Qing's face also flashed a trace of anger, and he said in a mature manner, "Young man, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have some skills. This society is not about who has the bigger fist." Li Enping glanced at him. "Who are you?" "I am Huo Qing." Li Enping turned his head, looked at him carefully, and then laughed. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Go. Chapter 28. Ha ha ha! Li Enping laughed wildly at the sky. Good, 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 I didn't expect that all my enemies today are here. God treats me well. Huo Fei was invisible and stayed beside Huo Qing. When Li Enping mentioned God, his face suddenly changed and he rushed to Huo Qing at the fastest speed. In the loud bang, Huo Qing had not figured out what happened, and the whole person had already flown out. In his sight, Huo Fei had already revealed his figure in the air, and then his whole body exploded like a balloon, and a bloody rain fell. He just tried to sneak attack Li Enping in stealth, but was directly knocked away by the opponent's huge force, and the man had lost consciousness in the air. He was killed by Li Enping's casual punch. At the corner of the wall more than 10 meters away, Huo Qing looked at the bloody rain in the air, his eyes wide open, full of disbelief. As the blood from the back of his head kept pouring out, his eyes gradually lost their luster. The bloody rain fell, and the crowd was in a panic, and several women even screamed and fainted. Everyone looked at Li Enping, who was covered in blood, as if they were looking at a monster. "I can't believe there is an invisible ability user hiding here," Li Enping thought as he looked at the blood in his hand. "Weak, too weak, this ability user only increased your strength by 0.1, I want to eat stronger ability users, I want to eat more ability users," He Kuang shouted. Li Enping glanced around and punched, and all those who looked at him couldn't help but step back. The dignity and arrogance of the superiors disappeared in front of Li Enping's naked power. Anna supported her mother who had fainted, and looked at Li Enping in the field, but her heart was filled with a strange sense of familiarity. "Where is Shang Angguo?" The low voice was like the devil's low moan. "He's here, here, here. Shang Angguo is here, push him out. This matter was caused by the mayor, let him come out to take responsibility." There was a commotion in the crowd, and after a moment, a middle-aged man with messy hair and ragged clothes was pushed out. He looked at the crowd behind him who pushed him out and yelled, "You bastards! He didn't dare to do anything, I'll remember you. Remember all of you. And Wanan. You're finished." The people who pushed him out turned their heads to the side silently, not daring to look at Shang Angwo. Especially Wanan, he was the first one to point out Shang Angwo. At this moment, he was probably the one who wanted Shang Angwo to be killed immediately. When Li Anping repeatedly showed his inhuman strength, Wanan immediately realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A good opportunity to kill Shang Angwo, or even replace him. Once Shang Angwo was killed this time, he would no longer have any constraints. He would not have to bear the brunt of the pressure all the time. The public security system of Zhongdu City would be truly under his complete control. In fact, this was also the idea of most of the dignitaries present. Once Shang Angwo died, the cake he left behind would be divided by the living. Shang Angwo pointed at Wanan and cursed wildly, and he was already out of breath after just a few curses. Suddenly, he felt someone walking behind him. He turned around and found Li Anping looking down at him coldly from behind. The cold breath and the bloody smell on Li Anping's body made him shiver and retreat. "Brother, let's talk about it. My deputy mayor and Su Lishuan do my usual work for me. If there is anything that offends you, tell me now and I will ask them to change it immediately." As he spoke, Shang Angwo couldn't help but retreat, but he fell to the ground after taking a few steps. "Brother, you should leave now. The police will be here soon. You still have time to escape now. Su Lishuan and Huo Qing are both big cancers in Zhongdu City. I have always been undermined by them. You are here to eliminate harm for the people today. Run away now. I promise I won't send anyone to catch you." Shang Angwo now just wants to trick the other party away as soon as possible. As long as he goes outside, he can immediately use the police and the army to block the other party to death. At that time, I must make this kid wish he could not live or die. But no matter how wonderful Shang Angwo's words were, Li Anping just stared at him coldly, and then said, "My name is Li Anping." A gasp sounded, and everyone was shocked when they heard this name. No one thought that the man in front of them was the suspect of the rape case that made a lot of noise some time ago. Some people thought of what Shang Zhenbang did on weekdays, and they guessed most of it in an instant. And Anna looked at Li Anping in disbelief, and tears in her eyes could not help falling. "Don't worry, everyone present, I promise," Shang Angwo said halfway, and suddenly reacted. The next moment he looked at Li Anping's face, his face was ashen. He wanted to say something, but saw Li Anping shaking his head. "Where is Poet Wei Shi? Where is she?" "She's not here," Shang Angwo said in a deep voice. "At this point, killing someone means paying with your life. If you want to kill me, I have nothing to say. But if you kill me here today, you will be the enemy of the entire Daxia. My eldest son is in the Star Alliance, and he will not let you go. Whether in heaven or on earth, you..." Swish. Li Anping's palm gently stroked Shang Angwo's neck. "I'm so annoyed." The next moment, Shang Angwo felt dizzy. He saw his headless body falling to the ground, blood gushing out. Until his head fell to the ground, his eyes were still wide open. After beheading Shang Angwo with one sword, Li Anping breathed a sigh of relief. He felt that the long-suppressed emotions in his heart were released, and his whole body was relaxed. The dignitaries on the side, especially Wanan and his ilk, looked at the headless body on the ground, and they were all silent. An emperor of Zhongdu fell in front of them like this, and was killed like a chicken. It made them have an inexplicable sense of fantasy, as if everything in front of them seemed so unreal. "Listen, people inside, you have been surrounded, put down your weapons and surrender immediately." Hearing the broadcast from outside, Li Anping frowned. His body is getting stronger now, but he doesn't plan to go against the government. What he wants is to punish evil, not to oppose the government. Ha ha ha, what are you waiting for? Kill them and absorb all the souls of everyone. Hey laughed. If I absorb them all, how much power can I increase? After killing Shang Angguo, Li Enping remained calm. I just killed an invisible ability user, and I only increased my strength by 0.1, right? According to what you said before, a person with an ability is at least equal to dozens of ordinary people. And as I get stronger, the energy required to improve my physical fitness is also increasing. Even if I kill all the police outside, how much strength can I increase? 0.1? 0.05? Besides, why should I kill the police? I just kill the evildoers. Li Enping glanced at the people in the auditorium and said, "You can take care of yourself." After that, he turned around and pushed open the door and left, leaving everyone with a look of surprise. No one thought that the other party would leave so readily. This is not how it is played in TV and movies. Originally, they all had the awareness of being taken hostage. Outside the funeral home, the crowd passing by had long been dispersed. Only hundreds of fully armed soldiers were left to surround the funeral home. They are a special forces team specially trained by Daxia for special operations, and they even have experience fighting against people with special abilities. They know the horror of people with special abilities better than anyone else. The shouting in the loudspeaker continued, and the soldiers' guns were aimed at the door and window, any place where they might rush out. This time, the order from the top was to abandon the hostages and kill the suspects directly, so once anyone came out, they would be baptized by the metal storm directly. With a clang, the door of the funeral home was kicked open. Everyone stared at the empty door nervously, as if some flood beast would rush out at any time. Then footsteps sounded, and Li Enping walked out slowly. Shoot, the target is an extremely dangerous person with antisocial tendencies. Everyone shoot and kill the target on the spot. As Huang Linjun's voice sounded from the phone, waves of gunfire continued, as if they were fighting a war. Pistols, submachine guns, sniper rifles. Bullets of various colors were shot at Li Enping from a 180-degree angle in front of him. The barrage was dense like rain. It completely submerged Li Enping's body. When the pistol bullets hit the flesh, they were stuck by Li Enping's muscles and could only scratch the skin. The bullets from the submachine gun could penetrate Li Enping's limbs, leaving horrible blood holes. But the most dangerous thing was the sniper rifle. This time, the special forces dispatched a total of 4 snipers, using the Barrett M82A1 sniper rifle, combined with armor-piercing incendiary bullets. This kind of gun and bullet has an effective range of 2,000 meters and a muzzle velocity of 853 meters per second, which is enough to penetrate a 16 mm thick steel plate within 500 meters. What's more, it was Li Enping's body. A total of 4 armor-piercing bullets hit Li Enping, tearing his muscles, crushing his bones, and almost breaking his body into pieces. His waist looked as if it was only connected to a layer of skin, as if it would break at any time. What was even more terrifying was his chest. A huge hole covered most of his chest, and his lungs and heart had completely disappeared. In just 5 seconds, Li Enping had been baptized by the storm of bullets and fell down like a broken toy. "Stop shooting!" Huang Linjun looked at Li Enping's body on the screen, breathed a sigh of relief, and then ordered, "The first team goes up and freezes the target's body." Originally, he was very worried that the other party would escape in the chaos, and when the high-level officials in Beijing came, they would most likely recruit the ability user. So what he hoped most was to kill this ability user criminal before the high-level officials arrived. Now it seems to have succeeded. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 29. There is a question I have wanted to ask for a long time, will I die now? Death, he, have you ever thought that maybe when you accepted my power, the real Li Anping was already dead? You are just the resentment and hatred he left behind. As long as the energy is enough to regenerate, you are immortal. Even if you really die, it will only be temporary. Humph, nonsense. Several soldiers in chemical protective suits walked carefully to the gate and surrounded Li Anping's broken body. They had to freeze Li Anping's body first, then wrap it up and transport it out. Every ability user, especially those with physical mutations, is the government's key research material. The first few soldiers looked at Li Anping's body curiously, and suddenly their eyes showed incredible eyes. They found that Li Anping's body was actually squirming. Especially the huge hole in the chest, the muscles, blood vessels, and nerves under the neck squeezed down bit by bit, and rebuilt Li Anping's chest. In the hollow, a thumb-sized heart could be seen growing out again, attached to the blood vessels, and began to beat slowly. This is... Suddenly, the corpse's eyes widened, and one hand grabbed a soldier's neck and threw him out. He's still alive. Go. Li Anping stood up. In front of him were soldiers in chemical protection suits fleeing in panic, special forces soldiers holding firearms and waiting solemnly, and a sharpshooter with a sniper rifle scope aimed at him 400 meters away. The police in the command vehicle stared at him on the screen and gritted their teeth. The dignitaries heard the gunshots and hid in the auditorium and trembled. Geng Zhong looked at Li Anping on the screen with his mouth wide open, and Huang Linjun's clenched fists trembled constantly. The pervasive murderous intent seemed to fill Li Anping's side. At this moment, the soldiers wanted to kill him, the police wanted to kill him, and the dignitaries also wanted him dead. Everyone wanted Li Anping to die. Kill this boy who broke the rules, shoot this murderous criminal, and beat this extremely dangerous person with abilities to death. At this moment, the boy was fighting the whole world alone. He roared. Why do you want to kill me? A soldier fired first, and a series of bullets hit Li Anping's chest, bursting with blood, and knocked Li Anping's body back slightly. As if reacting, after one shot, the rest of the soldiers also aimed at Li Anping and fired. His flesh was opened by gunpowder, and his bones were shattered by bullets. But the next second, the granulation grew again, and the bones were squeezed together by muscles and gradually healed. Roar! The boy roared like a beast, and a devil-like red light appeared in his eyes. His body suddenly swelled up under the effect of the energy explosion. The next moment, he had disappeared in the soldiers' sights. In the command vehicle, someone screamed inexplicably. Huang Linjun's eyes were bloodshot, and the shadow of Li Anping had long disappeared from the screen in front of him. All that can be seen is a fast-moving black shadow, a shaking camera, and gunshots and screams coming from the intercom. Group 2 calls for support. Group 2 calls for support. The target moves too fast, we can't snipe. Group 3 reports, sir, more than half of our personnel have been killed or injured, requesting to retreat. Say it again, requesting to retreat. Sir, we can't hold on, There were a few soft sounds from the intercom. Then, after a scream, another group of people lost contact. Suddenly, a lens on the sniper's body shook, followed by a meaningless picture, and a figure appeared. In his hand, the sniper's body was slowly sliding down. Another sniper reacted immediately, and a huge roar sounded, and the figure was shot out diagonally. But he did not die, but after a quick crawl, he disappeared into the shadows. Huang Linjun looked at the screen with red eyes, and he picked up the intercom on the other side. Colonel, the suspect is too dangerous. Please use weapons of mass destruction and send air fire support. A faint voice came from the other end of the intercom. No need, let everyone retreat. Huang Linjun was stunned and immediately said angrily, how can this be done? The target has a strong antisocial tendency and can kill officials and soldiers without any psychological burden. We must kill him before he causes more casualties. Do not use any high-powered weapons. Let the remaining Special Forces soldiers evacuate quickly. The following actions are mainly to protect the safety of citizens. Huang Linjun simply felt that this order was nonsense. He suddenly widened his eyes and shouted, "You are not Colonel Xin, who are you? Do you know how serious the consequences will be if you don't kill the suspect now?" "Okay, Officer Huang, I am indeed not Colonel Xin. But I am the person in charge sent by the special service team this time, and we will take over the next matter. From now on, your temporary authority has been revoked. Order everyone on the scene to retreat. Remember not to have any direct conflict with the target." "Sir." Huang Linjun gritted his teeth. The other party left a cold "this is an order" and ended the call. The entire command vehicle was silent, and Huang Linjun punched the table hard. He had already guessed what the other party was going to do. He must have seen this ability user's ability and wanted to absorb it. The situation in northern Xinjiang is becoming more and more tense day by day. The number of powerful combat-type ability users is extremely limited. Compared with the value of ordinary people's lives compared to ability users, in the eyes of the special service team, it is clear at a glance which one is more important. But after receiving the order from above, Huang Linjun still felt cold. He sighed, as if his whole body collapsed. Finally, he picked up the walkie-talkie and ordered, "Attention all units, retreat immediately and stop shooting." "Say it again, retreat immediately. Stop shooting." Geng Zhong on the side wanted to say something, but Huang Linjun reached out to stop him. He shook his head, his eyes swollen with a look of loneliness. Li Enping inside naturally didn't know what was going on outside. He just killed a few soldiers again and found that the surrounding siege was loosened. The remaining soldiers retreated in all directions, and no one shot at him. "What are you doing standing still? Chase them quickly and kill them all, eat them all." After he noticed that everyone had fled, he couldn't help but urge. Li Enping didn't say anything. He took a deep look at the direction in which the soldiers were retreating, and then jumped away in the opposite direction. "Why did you run away? We could have eaten them all." "What is my fitness level now?" Li Enping asked. "What happened to strength 3.0, speed 2.8, and physical fitness 3.9? I will kill anyone who stands in my way." Li Enping's face was still stained with wet blood, "But not now, I will come back when I become the strongest." After saying this, Li Enping jumped again and jumped into a building, leaving debris on the ground, and the person disappeared without a trace. Zhongdu Sequoia Airport. In the waiting hall, Wei Shishi was fashionably dressed and wearing a pair of big sunglasses, waiting for the plane. Suddenly a man with a big belly sat down next to her. "When you go to the Federation this time, you will enter the scope of the Star Alliance. We may not be able to contact you for a long time, so be careful." "Haha, I can finally leave this country. I have been impatient for a long time." A sneer appeared on Wei Shishi's face. "When I see Shang Jinhai, he will naturally not be able to escape from my grasp." After saying that, she looked at the man next to her provocatively and said, "Men, they are all the same. As long as you are sure, Shang Jinhai is a key figure. When the time comes, I hope you will make any sacrifices to grasp his relationship. Although you have only joined for a short time, the organization will remember you." Wei Shishi nodded and said nothing. "Then I'm leaving. I'm afraid we won't have a chance to meet each other in the future." The man stood up and walked out. Suddenly he turned his head and said, "By the way, the murderer of Shang Angguo has been confirmed." "Haha, you must not have expected it." "Oh? You didn't tell me, you were the one who did it." "Of course it's not me, it's Li Enping. He has awakened his ability. Then he got his revenge, which is good." Wei Shishi frowned. "Oh, speaking of which, I didn't want to hurt him at the beginning. Who knew that he was so ignorant of current affairs that he would challenge the monk's family? Thanks to you, he has awakened his ability now, and I'm afraid he will be admitted to Daxialanke. The strength of Daxialanke is average, but it can be considered a first-rate force in the eastern continent. Wei Shishi nodded and said, that's good. After I gain Shang Jinhai's trust and join the core layer of the Star Alliance, I'll give him some compensation. At this time, a voice sounded on the radio, passengers heading to the Amist Federation, your flight K070 has begun boarding. Passengers please board from gate 23. Wei Shishi ignored the man and walked towards the boarding gate. She looked at the afterglow of the setting sun, her eyes full of longing. Finally the day has arrived, the top of this world, I am finally one step closer to you. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 30. In an office of the police station, Huang Linjun stood in front of the table, standing upright, not daring to express his breath, looking extremely nervous. In front of him, a man of insignificant age was facing away from him, looking out the window. From Huang Linjun's position, he could only see that the man's shoulders looked majestic and powerful. The momentum of his back alone gave people the illusion that he could lift the world on his shoulders. That Li Anping, where is he now? After hearing the man's question, Huang Linjun thought about it and said truthfully, according to the satellite photos taken half an hour ago, he has left Zhongdu and fled to the south. Run away? But why did he run away? The man's tone was full of doubts. It seemed like he was really confused. Huang Linjun hesitated, are you afraid that we will hunt him down? Does he need to be afraid? Judging from the battle video at the funeral home, before weapons of mass destruction are deployed, ordinary small groups of troops no longer pose a threat to him, let alone special police, armed police, and the like. Unless he already knows we exist. As he spoke, the man turned around, revealing a face with no wrinkles, no eyebrows, and no expression. Only one pair of eyes seems to reveal countless vicissitudes of life. Anyone who sees these eyes will feel that the other person has definitely experienced countless storms. He picked up some photos on the table and remained silent. That was the scene photo of the bodies of West and 4 other people. Huang Linjun said, do you suspect that they revealed it? The man nodded and said, Li Anping went to the bar, where he killed Shang Zhenbang. Then he took away the black man. Judging from the corpse we found, the black man was tortured in front of him. Then Li Anping killed 3 other people. A capable person. It's possible he learned something from the black man's mouth. He still couldn't explain why he went from being an ordinary person to becoming so powerful in a short period of time. Maybe it has something to do with his ability. We won't know until we catch him. Huang Linjun thought for a while and then boldly said, Mr. Stability Factor, we should arrest him before he causes more harm, otherwise, he may become a Damien Donnell. A cold snort and a look already gave Huang Linjun a feeling of suffocation. The man called Chief Xia didn't even say a word, so Huang Linjun was so oppressed that he couldn't even say a word. Do you think he will destroy the earth? You are talking nonsense. Shang Angguo colluded with foreign ability people, and his intentions are to be punished. Although Li Anping caused some damage, it was only because he was too young, cynical, and lacked some correct guidance. Commander Xia he glanced at Huang Linjun again and said calmly, this time I can go to the south to chase him. It's enough for me. You can stay in Zhongdu to stabilize the situation. Huang Linjun opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but the opponent's aura was pressing on him, as heavy as Mount Tai, making him unable to say anything in opposition. He could feel the energy in the opponent's body, like a volcanic eruption. Is about to move. After struggling for a long time, he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth, I obey. Then he sat down as if he was exhausted, and his body could not exert any strength at all. When he looked up again, the man had disappeared. Only Huang Linjun was left in the entire office. Is this a top-notch capable person, one who is above the government and controls the fate of ordinary people? Unexpectedly, the special service team actually sent him here. Huang Linjun gasped and clenched his fists. No, I cannot allow you to trample on the royal power and ignore the law. This Li Anping, I must bring him to justice. At that moment, he raised the phone and dialed a series of phone numbers. Although Huang Linjun also had abilities, he was not capable of confronting the army head-on. He had always felt that it would be enough for an ability user to reach his level. People with abilities that are too powerful will do a lot of harm to the country but nothing good. He has always believed that individuals who are too powerful will only cause serious social injustice and embezzle the interests of most ordinary people. It will also restrict government management and national development. Therefore, he has always hated superpowered criminals like Li Anping. In particular, the damage and influence caused by Li Anping were unprecedentedly bad, which strengthened his awakening to seize and punish Li Anping. Even if the upper echelons of Daxia Longke had already set the tone for possible recruitment, he would still try to destroy it. Even if Li Anping cannot be brought to justice, he must be allowed to die outside. Before he causes greater damage to Daxia, Huang Linjun muttered to himself. In an office building in Zhongdu City, Li Qian stared blankly at the corpse in front of her. He was a fat man who weighed more than 200 pounds. His whole body was wrapped in layers of newspapers. If you tear open the newspaper, you can see his livid face and purple lips. Li Qian didn't know what to do. The leader asked him to come to the office an hour ago. As a result, within a few minutes, the other party put a dirty hand on his shoulder. Xiao Li, how are you doing at work recently? Are you busy? Do you need me to take care of you? The opponent's hands gradually extended from the shoulders and back to the stomach, thighs, and other increasingly sensitive places. Li Qian was about to resist immediately, but because she couldn't match her opponent's strength, she was firmly suppressed by the fat man. What are you doing? Let me ask you, do you not want this job anymore? You are shameless. With a snap, Li Qian hit the fat man on the face, leaving a red palm print. Bitch, don't be shameless. After receiving a slap, the fat man suddenly showed his fierce look and pushed Li Qian down on the sofa with all his strength. Li Qian's coat was stripped off. She began to scream and struggle, and beat the fat man with both hands, but the fat man remained unmoved. Li Qian's strength was simply not enough to break free from a 200-pound fat man. At this moment, Li Qian hoped that the hero in her heart would appear again and save her again, but no matter how hard she struggled, the miracle never happened again. The two people were wrestling on the sofa, but they didn't notice that stacks of newspapers were floating on the bookshelf in the office and slowly flying towards the fat man's body. The fat man's face turned red with excitement, and he held Li Qian's neck firmly with one hand. The other hand used force to pull open the shirt Li Qian was wearing, revealing his plump chest, which became even plumper and three-dimensional under the squeeze of his underwear. Ah! What followed was Li Qian screaming non-stop. In anger and embarrassment, she seemed to feel something being opened in her body. It's like a light switch. The newspapers in mid-air seemed to be inspired, rushing towards the fat man like locusts, wrapping him up in layers, like a mummy. The fat man's eyes, ears, nose, and mouth were all blocked by newspapers. He couldn't see or breathe. So he began to struggle. He pushed the sofa away and smashed the glass cabinet behind him to pieces. But in his panic, not only did this not help him, but it also made his already little oxygen even more depleted. He fell to the ground and kept grabbing the newspaper on his head with both hands. But every time he tore off a layer of newspaper, more newspapers would cover it from mid-air, wrapping his head even more thickly. Finally, he found that he could not tear off the layers of newspapers from his head, and his movements became smaller and smaller, and his breathing began to become vague. Li Qian didn't react until the fat man completely turned into a cold corpse. She rushed forward in panic and tore apart the newspaper layer by layer on the fat man's head, but in the end she only saw a purple and blue pig's head. The other person is no longer breathing. Li Qian sat down on the ground and stared blankly at the corpse on the ground, her mind in chaos. Murderer, prison, shooting, a series of thoughts made her more and more panicked. Why? Why would this happen to me? Finally, Li Qian cried. Tears flowed down one by one and fell on the floor. After a series of recent blows, coupled with long-term work pressure, until today when Fatty was killed by mistake, Li Qian finally couldn't bear it anymore. She cried like crazy, as if she wanted to vent all the depression in her heart. At this moment, the image of a man appeared in Li Qian's mind. He was like a devil, ravaging mortals and trampling on the powerful. This moment deeply penetrated her heart. Maybe I can be like him. Outside the window of the building, a man with no eyebrows, no expression, and no apparent age stood in the air, like a floating ghost. He looked at Li Qian and Fatty through the floor-to-ceiling glass. He watched the newspapers fly up one by one, watched the newspapers wrap up Fatty, and watched Fatty struggle feebly, and finally died of suffocation. Li Qian cried like crazy until the end. The next day, TV station executive Zhu Dan was found to have suffered a cerebral infarction and died suddenly in his office. His vacancy triggered a new round of competition in the TV station. What no one noticed was that on the same day that Zhu Dan died, Li Qian, an intern reporter at the TV station, also submitted a letter of resignation and left Zhongdu City the next day, embarking on a path that ordinary people could not imagine. From then on, Li Qian's colleagues never heard anything about her again. Only by chance will someone remember that there was such a beautiful, hard-working, and serious girl on the TV station many years ago.